Imagine this. You're the most feared man in your world. You've burned cities, drowned streets, and carved your victories into stone so future generations have to remember your name. Tonight, you walk into a temple to pray. Stone gods stare down at you. Incense smoke twists in the lamplight. The floor is cold beneath your sandals. Behind you, footsteps, not enemies, your own sons. Steel flashes in the dark. By morning, the king of Assyria, Sennacherib, lies dead on the temple floor. The man who tried to erase entire cities has just been erased by his own family. What kind of life do you have to live for this to be your ending? Stay with me, because to answer that, we have to follow a trail of fire across the Iron Age world, from Jerusalem's walls to the burning of Babylon itself. When Sennacherib becomes king in 705 BCE, he doesn't build an empire from scratch. He inherits a monster. The Neo-Assyrian Empire stretches across the Near East. Iron swords, siege engines, professional armies. Cities know the rule: pay up or burn. But the empire has a problem. His father, Sargon II, dies on campaign. The body is never recovered. For Assyrians, that's not just tragic, that's cosmic. Dying unburied in enemy land means the gods are angry. Sennacherib's first big move, he abandons his father's shiny new capital and shifts everything to Nineveh. It's like he's trying to outrun a curse while sitting on the throne of the most feared state on earth. And right away, one city decides to test him. To Assyria, Babylon is a problem wrapped in a love story. Culturally, Babylon is like an older sibling. Ancient temples, sacred texts, prestigious gods. Assyrian kings copy its stories, adopt its rituals, speak its dialect. Politically, Babylon is chaos, tribal warlords, city elites, outside powers like Elam constantly interfering. As soon as Sennacherib takes the crown, a Chaldean warlord, Marduk II, storms back into Babylon and claims the throne with Elamite support. The message is clear: new king, same old Assyria. We're not scared. Sennacherib can't let the empire's jewel act like this. But the way he tries to fix Babylon will eventually cost him his son, and maybe his sanity. We'll come back to Babylon. First, you need to understand the man himself. Sennacherib doesn't grow up as the classic action hero prince. While his father is out fighting, Sennacherib is basically the operations manager of an empire. He's handling reports from governors, he's checking tribute lists, he's sending orders, reading spy messages and managing supplies. He knows how the system works better than anyone, who's loyal, who's lying, which region is always one missed grain shipment away from revolt. But there's a catch. For reasons we still don't fully understand, Sargon never takes him to war. So this crown prince grows up surrounded by carvings of victory, impaled captives, captured kings, endless lines of tribute, without ever earning any of that glory himself. When he finally becomes king, he isn't just ruling an empire, he's trying to prove he deserves it. And the first big test comes not from Babylon, but from a small kingdom up in the hills, Judah. It's 701 BCE. While Babylon simmers in the south, the west explodes. Vassal states along the Levant, including the kingdom of Judah under King Hezekiah, decide this is their moment to break free. Egypt whispers, "We'll help you." Prophets in Judah say, "Trust God, not Assyria." It's a bad combo. Sennacherib responds the only way Assyria knows how: total military flex. His armies roll down the coast, crushing one city after another. In his own records, he boasts of taking 46 fortified towns in Judah, plus countless small places. And there's one city he's so proud of, he'll carve it into his palace walls: Lachish. What he does there is so brutal. He turns it into a permanent warning. In Nineveh, visitors walking Sennacherib's palace would pass a long stone corridor. On the walls, a full graphic novel in stone, The Siege of Lachish. You see siege ramps crawling up the hill, Assyrian archers pushing forward under shields, battering rams hammering the gates. Then the aftermath, prisoners kneeling, being counted, led away. Others, punished in ways the artists don't bother to soften. This isn't just decoration, it's a threat. Every official, every foreign ambassador walking that hall gets the message. This is what happens when you rebel. And while Lachish falls in stone and story, one city still holds out in the hills: a city that will turn Sennacherib into a villain and a miracle story. Sennacherib's prisms give us his version first. He claims he shut Judah's king Hezekiah up in Jerusalem like a bird in a cage. He lists city after city taken. Then comes the punchline, a huge list of tribute: silver, gold, valuables, officials, even Hezekiah's own daughters and palace staff. In his telling, Jerusalem doesn't fall, because it doesn't have to. The bird in the cage pays to stay alive, but the Hebrew Bible tells the story differently. There, Assyrian envoys stand outside the walls shouting in Hebrew so everyone can hear. They promise that the people of Jerusalem will end up eating their own filth and drinking their own urine if they resist. And then, in a single night, an angel of Yahweh strikes 185,000 Assyrian soldiers, and Sennacherib goes home humiliated. Two completely different versions, one carved in clay, one written in scripture. So what actually happened? Modern historians suspect disease in the camp, a plague, or a negotiated retreat. But here's the key. Both sides twist the story to say, our God, our king, our side won. And as Sennacherib marches home, richer but not invincible, his real obsession is still waiting for him in the south. Babylon hasn't finished with him. Remember Sennacherib's Babylon problem? He'd tried everything. First, he replaced rebel leaders with a friendly Babylonian. When that failed, he installed his own son, Ashur-nadin-shumi, as king of Babylon. A clear sign this boy was supposed to be the future of the whole empire. Then Babylon rebelled again. Elamite forces swept in, captured the city, and took Sennacherib's son. After that, the sources go quiet. The strong assumption: Ashur-nadin-shumi is executed far from home. Try to imagine Sennacherib's mindset now. The city his culture admired most has killed his heir. For a king who sees victory as proof that the gods are with him, this isn't just rebellion, it's a personal cosmic insult. And one day, Babylon is going to pay a price no city should ever pay. Before that, he has one more enemy to punish: the people who helped Babylon defy him in the first place. To break Babylon's support, Sennacherib goes after Elam, the kingdom across the mountains and marshes to the east. He doesn't just march, he gets creative. Assyrian engineers build ships on the Tigris and Euphrates, then drag them across land to link river systems and sail all the way to the Persian Gulf. Picture it: an empire-level amphibious operation in the 7th century BCE. His inscriptions boast of storms, sacrifices to the god Ea, and of burning Elamite cities on the coast. On paper, it's a masterclass in logistics and intimidation. But victories don't cool Sennacherib down. They harden him. Every win chips away at any remaining restraint. The king who watched his father die cursed and his son disappear in Babylon is about to make a decision that will echo through history like a slammed door. In 689 BCE, Sennacherib crosses a line even other brutal kings rarely approached. He stops trying to rule Babylon. He decides to erase it. His inscriptions describe it with chilling pride. He claims he tore down its walls, smashed its temples, looted its treasures. He says he flooded the streets so that, quote, its foundations were destroyed. He attacks the great temple of Marduk, Esagil, the heart of Babylon's religious life. To understand how shocking this is, imagine someone levelling Rome, or Mecca, or Jerusalem, and then bragging they humiliated the god worshipped there. For the people of Mesopotamia, this isn't just cruel, it's almost unthinkable. The city that gave Assyria its stories and its gods, wiped off the map by its own younger brother. And the ancient sources do something fascinating here. Some Babylonian texts act like they can't even describe the details. They skip, they soften, they remember the trauma but not the play-by-play. It's as if words themselves flinch away. So why do this? Politically, it makes sense to Sennacherib. Babylon keeps rebelling, it killed his son, it attracts foreign meddlers. Erasing it feels like tearing a problem out by the roots. But spiritually, symbolically, he's sending a different message. The gods you think protect you, I can walk into their house and burn it down. He isn't just ruling people anymore, he's trying to rule the cosmic order. And in the ancient mindset, when a king starts acting like that, the universe tends to push back. Which brings us back to that temple in Nineveh and the footsteps behind him. After the Babylon disaster, Sennacherib's problems come home. His first chosen heir, Ashur-nadin-shumi, is gone. He names another son, Ardamilisu, as crown prince. Years pass. Then, suddenly, he changes his mind. The new chosen heir is a younger son, Esarhaddon. No public explanation, no graceful retirement for Ardamilisu. If you're that passed-over son, what do you hear? You've failed. The gods don't favour you. Your little brother is better. In royal courts across history, that feeling leads to one thing more often than not: a knife in the dark. Ancient records give the date precisely, the 20th of Tebet, roughly January 681 BCE. Sennacherib goes to worship in a temple in Nineveh. The Bible says it's the temple of Nisroch, maybe echoing one of Assyria's gods. There, two of his sons attack him while he's praying. Other texts hint at a larger plot: more brothers, elite troops, a full palace coup. In seconds, the man who burned Babylon and terrorized half the Near East is lying on the floor of his own temple, bleeding out in the shadow of the gods he thought he could manipulate. In Judah and Babylon, storytellers don't miss the irony. For them, this isn't just politics, this is divine payback. But if the assassins think they've won, they've underestimated one thing: the brother their father chose instead. When news of the murder reaches Esarhaddon, he doesn't run. He rallies troops and marches on Nineveh. One inscription mocks his brothers, saying they butted each other like baby goats, fighting over the throne while his army closed in. Soldiers who once swore loyalty to Sennacherib flip to Esarhaddon, insisting the gods clearly favour him now. Ardamilisu flees into exile. Esarhaddon enters Nineveh as king and starts cleaning house. Lists of elite soldiers suddenly end mid-line. Names disappear from the tablets. The empire that once specialised in erasing other people's cities is now erasing its own traitors from the record. But Esarhaddon does something his father never would have done. He reaches out a hand to Babylon. Instead of doubling down on his father's terror, Esarhaddon chooses a different story. He orders Babylon to be rebuilt, streets cleared, temples restored, walls raised again from the rubble. In stone inscriptions, he casts himself as the healer of a wound his father opened. For Babylonians, Sennacherib becomes the villain in the background, the king who went too far, who tried to drown a sacred city and was struck down. For Judah, he's the arrogant invader whose army died overnight. For his own propaganda, he remains the invincible king who caged Hezekiah and shattered his enemies. 3 different Sennacheribs, 3 different stories. Which one is real? To get closer to the truth, we have to leave the ancient storytellers behind and go meet the people who dig him up. Today, Sennacherib doesn't speak through priests or palace scribes. He whispers out of baked clay. Archaeologists have found his annals pressed into 6, 8, even 10-sided prisms, listing campaigns, tribute, city names, and boasts in tight cuneiform rows. In museums, you can stand inches away from the lines where he brags about caging Hezekiah, burning cities, and drowning Babylon. In the ruins of Nineveh, you can still trace the carved figures on the Lachish reliefs: siege ramps, archers, prisoners, all frozen mid-scream in stone. In Lachish itself, you can walk across the hardened remains of the very siege ramp his men built, and in Jerusalem, a tiny clay fragment with Assyrian writing turns up in an ancient drain, likely part of the mundane paperwork of empire: taxes, tribute, pressure. Piece by piece, the ghost becomes a person, not just a villain in someone else's sermon, not just a hero in his own propaganda, a king with real limits, real fears, and a record that contradicts itself. Look at how many people have tried to control this one man's legacy. Sennacherib himself, carving victories and leaving out failures. Biblical writers, turning him into the arrogant enemy of their god. Babylonian scribes, tiptoeing around the trauma of their city's destruction. Esarhaddon, rebuilding Babylon and indirectly casting his father as the cautionary tale. Modern historians and archaeologists arguing over numbers, plague, politics, all of them fighting in their own way over one question: who gets to decide what really happened? That's the part that should feel uncomfortably familiar. We still live in a world where powerful people try to control the story, through media, monuments, speeches, or silence. Sennacherib just did it with stone and iron instead of social feeds and press conferences. In the end, Sennacherib wasn't just dangerous because he had the biggest army, the sharpest iron, or the fiercest siege engines. He was dangerous because he understood something about power that is still true today. If you can control what people remember, you can control what they fear, what they obey, even what they think the gods want. He tried to erase cities. He tried to overwrite the gods. And when that wasn't enough, he tried to script his own immortality in clay and stone. His sons tried to erase him with a sword. His enemies tried to erase him with stories. But here you are, in the 21st century, hearing his name again, Sennacherib. The king history tried to bury, and the king we keep digging back up because his world and ours are not as different as we'd like to think. If you want more stories like this, about the people history almost erased, hit subscribe, drop a comment with the area you want to explore next, and I'll see you in the next campaign.